I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-looking for another load. Well, it's a family tradition, any Rocky Mountain day. Our fathers before us showed us the way. We work for asphalt cowboys and concrete kings, but that's never been a problem, cause we got diesel in our veins. We've got diesel in our veins.
What's up, JFW family? Welcome back to the Channel 23 podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to reach out and touch the fleet, to engage and inform everyone with all things JFW. Welcome back, Brother Jim. We got a couple kids in the studio today. Super Dave, Gutter Boy Weldon. We got singer-songwriter, Brother Dave. And then our special guest today is Kendrick Anthony. Welcome, guys.
Morning, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Good morning.
Kendrick, we always start the podcast off with the pledge. You want to kick that off for us?
I'd love to.
Great.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nice job, Kendrick. Father God, we thank you for the opportunity to go out and do some trucking today. We pray for the safety of our fleet, all their families, and all the other families and individuals we come across on the road today. We pray for patience in the making of good, safe decisions. We pray to be accident-free and that we all make it back to the comfort of our homes this evening. We pray for healing and 100% recovery for all of our family members that are ill, and we pray that we find Ambyr's mom. It's in Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
All right. As a reminder, anything you hear on today's podcast is not the opinion of JFW. It's just the 5 men in this room's opinion. Episode 77, also known as the Little Dustin episode, had 695 downloads.
Nice.
Oh, good.
Really good. We are at 32.5 thousand total downloads, and we have 190 followers. I did notice Lexi Brown from the Wash Bay followed the podcast. So I saw her. I was like, oh, Lex, thanks for following the podcast. She's like, yeah, it was cool. No offense, it was cooler than I thought it would be. So I guess she thought we weren't cool, and she now realizes that
We're cool.
we're pretty cool.
You said that to us last week, and I was thinking, okay, so cooler, like we're cool, the podcast, or because like we're older, we were cooler than what she thought.
Yeah, I think it was a combination of how cool could that podcast be with those guys doing it,
right?
and then it turns out we're pretty cool, and
Yeah.
so is the podcast. We are worldwide.
That's
Yep.
cool.
Yeah,
that
thanks,
is
Lexi.
cool. You guys know, I mean, speaking of worldwide, we've been in all sorts of countries. Do you know what country is the hardest to leave without anybody noticing?
Russia.
Without anybody noticing?
Yep.
They're going to notice.
God, it has to be an easy one too,
Right.
Jam. Like
Right.
like Brazil, but with leaving.
Like some country named Return or something like that.
How about Uganda?
Oh man.
Well, it's springtime, and we were talking about boating earlier this morning. Maybe not in that context, but do you guys know what you call a boat with a hole in the bottom of it?
A sinker.
You're close. A sink.
There you go. I like it.
Well, we were also talking about, or just now talked about being older and stuff. Do you know why, or does anybody know why diarrhea is hereditary?
Runs in your jeans.
There you go. Have we done that one? Did we?
3
That's
times.
just a. I mean, that's an old one.
Yeah, 3 times.
Oh, shoot.
Well, Jim, your dad joke was about getting older, and so is mine. How do you know when you're getting older?
How do it know?
Well,
Your jeans are dirty?
when you would take a fall and you were younger, your friends just laughed at you. When you're getting older, they're worried if you're okay.
That's funny. It reminds me, I mean, we're such terrible parents. One day, like, Bella fell and she hurt herself, but me and my wife were laughing. And I think that was the more upsetting part to her. And my wife just explained to her, honey, it's okay. Just sometimes when people get hurt, it's funny. And that's like the running joke in our house now. My wife will stub our toe and me and Bella will look like, sometimes when you get hurt, it's funny.
Well, I'll guess I'll start off. I know there's a lot of dog lovers in this room, so my wife asked me if I had seen the dog bowl, and I said I never knew he could.
Hey, on a side note here, to the person that stole my glasses, I promise I'll find you.
Oh.
I have contacts.
Well, Steve Barnes sent me like 4 jokes this morning, but I'll just tell the one. Do you know what ice cubes kids call them?
What kids call ice cubes?
What his kids?
Oh, what his kids call ice cubes.
No. What does Ice Cube's kids call him?
Oh!
You know, Ice Cube the rapper.
Yeah.
I thought you were cool.
Like iced tea.
Right.
I always confuse those two.
Tell us,
No?
Jim.
Popsicle. All right. On to more important business.
I hope we get better.
Yeah, let's move on.
This is a rough start.
It's because Kendrick's here. I blame Hendrix. New employees, we got Andrick Andrade, Rich Trujillo is back, and Jesse Rodenbaugh. Welcome guys.
Welcome, guys.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome
everybody.
and welcome back, Rich.
Yeah, welcome back.
Celebrations, anniversaries, we got Ricky DeLeon is hitting 3 years on Friday, and Jack Oquenda Mejia is hitting 3 years on Saturday.
Nice.
Happy anniversary,
Yeah,
guys.
those are a couple real good guys right there.
Congratulations,
Yep.
you guys. It's funny, anytime they're close together or on the same day like that, I just go back to several weeks ago, Dave, when you said they have a what was your description? You said they will always have a work.
They will always be connected by their hire date or something like that.
Something like that. Like it'll go down in history. Their
A
anniversary
shared
together. Yeah.
anniversary or something.
Yeah, it just makes me think of that. It's fun.
Hey, can Jam, I just have the one note here. Since you talked about the downloads and the followers and all that kind of stuff, and there's no way to do it, obviously, but the podcast is pretty much mandatory that we listen to.
Yeah.
You know, or you guys need to listen to it. I know, we talked about the followers and stuff, but we either need to start pushing that more. The guys that listen to it need to push it, but we need to talk about making the podcast mandatory, which is kind of impossible, but we have so much information that is important to the fleet that it will help everybody. And I know we do our dad jokes and we're talking about anniversaries, and those things are all important and funny and stuff like that. But the things we cover, if you just pay attention and listen, it'll help you be a better driver and hopefully also a better person. So I just wanted to throw that out there as part of my list here.
And the shout outs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just to, didn't want to interrupt the shout outs, but it just seemed like it fit in our listeners that we need everybody listening. You have to listen.
Yep.
100%. Yeah, I mean, we used to have the safety meetings. The safety meetings were mandatory. If you didn't go to a safety meeting, you would be disqualified from your percentage bump. And
Yep.
Yeah, for the week.
that's
and,
true. Forgot about that.
Yeah, and I guess we talked about that, and I guess that's like everything, we've tried to make it better, easier, simpler, just better, in fact, and I think this podcast is so much better than trying to have the mandatory meetings.
Yep.
We don't take away from trucking, we don't take away from anything.
we cover a lot more material.
Yeah, a lot more material, and you can do it in the comfort of your own truck anytime you want to do it.
Yep. So when we get the excuse, I just haven't had the time to listen.
Yeah.
I mean, you are in a truck for 10 to 12 hours.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, we could have robbed your time by making you come to a mandatory safety meeting, and that just wasn't working.
I mean, if you're really bored, listen to it at home when you're taking a bubble bath with a glass of wine,
I love that.
right?
What kind of wine do you drink?
Wine tastes like vinegar to me, man.
What kind of bubble bath do you use?
Lavender.
Nice. Sweet. Birthdays. Troy Hunt had a birthday yesterday. Happy birthday, Troy Hunt.
Happy birthday,
Happy
Troy.
birthday, Troy.
Birthday and anniversary?
Nope.
No,
just a
birthday.
birthday. And then Mitch Brenner, he has a birthday tomorrow. So happy birthday, Mitch. We have no family birthday celebrations this week, so let's move on to the shout-outs.
How's that possible?
I'm down a line. I seen Troy Hunt on the shout-outs and the anniversaries. I'm like, how did I just screw that up? Reading too fast. Hi, Troy.
I'd let you borrow my glasses, but somebody took them.
My wife, she just told me they ran across 0027, and that's Uncle Freddie. So I was like, oh, it's Uncle Freddie. And then she's like, oh, Bella wants to give Uncle Freddie a shout-out. I'm like, for what? So she said, let's go, Uncle Freddie, looking good on the road, over and out.
I love it. Yeah. Perfect.
Yep. Mike Boris and Arturo Mendoza, they both wanted to give a shout-out to the shop for knocking out their clutches. The shop actually did 3 clutches in a week. So that's pretty impressive. I know Chris and Ricky, they were kind of voicing that those clutches are pretty heavy.
Yeah,
they are.
Yeah, no doubt.
What's awesome is that we actually had the parts, that we had the clutches, we could get the clutches, and
I'm sure there's a story behind that.
Yeah, the goofy thing was it wound up being 2 bad transmissions of the 3.
Oh wow!
In the when I say the clutch area in the clutch bell housing, the attachments that grab the clutch and move it. So the clutches, 2 of the 3 clutches weren't bad. It was transmission.
Got it.
But either way.
Yeah, again, I want to touch on that because here's that podcast listen. Put it in neutral when you're sitting at the pit, put it in neutral when you're stopped for a prolonged time, do all that kind of stuff. So I am thrilled, Jam, that, we knocked out 3 clutches. We did it in a week. Dave's just saying that it's really not the clutch on 2 of them, and we got a transmission. So we basically blew $9,000 because I just want to throw out there that the clutch is $3,000 a piece.
Nah.
Yeah.
$6,000 if you want to be perfectly correct.
Right.
Because it didn't need it. We didn't need it, right?
Yeah.
But you're in there, so what do? You replace it and fix the transmission.
Absolutely. When you got a couple 100,000 miles on the clutch, you replace it when you have the transmission.
When you're there, yeah.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm thrilled we could get that done, but it still comes back to us doing the right thing, putting the truck in neutral, downshifting, making that clutch work just like it would in a manual transmission, so we don't have to spend $3,000 a clutch and replace them.
So, and I just want to understand because I'm not as mechanically savvy as you guys. So downshifting and automatics, how does that help the clutch?
So same thing as in a manual transmission, Jam. If you're in, I don't know, whatever, 5th gear in the big truck and you're loaded, how do you get going?
You upshift.
Well, no. If you downshift.
Oh, gotcha.
But why? But how would you get the truck going if you were in too high of a gear and you were loaded and leaving?
You have to downshift.
You slip the clutch and make the truck
Dave.
bounce like crazy.
Slip the clutch. Computer's going to do the same thing. Hey, that's in a high gear. The truck just won't engage and go. I have to slip the clutch just like you would do, Jim.
Understood. And I thought you meant downshift to stop. Like,
no,
just when you're stopped,
downshift
make sure
to
you
leave.
Downshift. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I tell you, when you see those guys at the stoplights doing that,
the truck just shimmers.
God, it just makes me cringe.
Yeah, and you can do the same thing to a clutch and a clutch plate and all that. You can glaze it just like a set of brakes, and that's what usually happens, Super Dave. That's what causes the chatter, is the glazing on the 2 faces. That's the same principle as your brakes. When they chatter on a drum system, is they're glazed and they're chattering against each other. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Weren't you saying that on the urge to move, that allow your truck to just start moving on its own without touching the accelerator, and that also helps with the clutch?
Absolutely.
And then
Ken.
When you're starting out from a light, don't just put the pedal down to the metal, because the truck will start to learn that that's what it's always going to do, and it'll wrap out higher and upshifts on the higher end of the spectrum.
Absolutely. The urge to move, let off the brake, that engages the clutch lets out, and the truck goes, then give it throttle. Yeah, don't just let off the brake and go right to the throttle.
Which is less than seconds. I mean, it is so fast. It's
Right.
it's not gonna delay you from leaving a light. It's gonna delay you from being broke down.
When I'm leaving a light or stop sign or whatever, it doesn't get you going when you you mash that throttle and then it revs up to 2,000 RPMs before you shift, you will actually get going quicker if you let it shift 2 gears and then go ahead and give it some fuel, because and I don't know exactly, it's been a while since I drove one, but 3rd and 4th gear are actually longer gears. So the computer will leave it in that gear a little bit longer. So you're actually going to gain more road speed when you're working those gears rather than like 1st and 2nd.
And when you're giving it less throttle, it will skip shift.
It'll shift quicker, right?
So you get better fuel mileage.
Instead of wrapping out.
It's not working every gear, so it's not tearing up that transmission as fast. It's not working that engine as hard. And guess what? Because it skipped gears, you got going just as fast. Yeah.
Good stuff. Troy Hunt, he wants to give a shout out to the shop as well for fixing his air conditioning and keeping everybody running. Plus, also shout out to Mikey for always wearing shorts. So I could just hear Troy Hunt saying that.
You see Mikey in pants though once in a while, and it is like weird.
Only when he's
One
going
time.
to a wedding or a funeral.
Yeah, one time I've seen it.
Yeah, just the other day.
Oh, that must have been pretty important, whatever you were doing.
Oh no, he was wearing pants when you all had that meeting with Kenworth too.
Yeah, with PACCAR, yeah.
Yeah. So that was important.
So meeting with PACCAR is just like going to a wedding for Mikey.
Or a funeral.
Somebody's going to die or get hitched at those meetings.
That's funny. So we want to take just a few minutes to reintroduce ourselves. We just started advertising the podcast, which is fun. And there's been one comment on Facebook on our ad, and it says, "Wow, everybody's Howard Stern these days. Gee whiz."
That's a good
Shot.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny.
But did he listen? That's what I want to know. But anyway, so who are we, and why do we get to speak on these things at JFW? So we'll just go around the table real quick and maybe just speak about our credentials and how we got here, and it'll be great.
Since I'm the top of the list, am I going, Jim?
You go first. Yep.
Hey, when we discussed doing this, and that's a great segue into it, of advertising, getting to know us again here. You know, and you talk about, we just talked about the clutches, we talked about procedure and different stuff like that. That it's not that, you know, for myself I know everything, but I'm about to celebrate 41 years in the business, and I have some background, and most of that background is learning by, you know, it either broke or we crashed it, or it's by hands-on experience, not like, oh, that might happen or this might go on. But I guess my background, Jam, is you know, been in the business 41 years. I probably drove, 15 of those, probably pretty much continuously. We've ran the excavating side of the business, both me and Dave. I've dug probably over 100 basements with a loader. We've done complete complexes. I've built my own house. Wow. The construction thing, or this side of this, is what I live and breathe. You know, I know we had the rodeo and stuff, and I told everybody how much I love to drive, and I enjoy that part of it. And I guess it's a passion, you know, and to get off the background here, it's a passion to make people better in this industry. And because I know how great the whole industry can be, and I'm talking every kind of trucking, and how we look to the public, and it makes our business, and by our, I mean all of ours business, better. And that's my goal. So yeah, I mean, I hope my 40 years here brings something to the table, and I would love people to listen and take me at my word.
I think your 40 years is pretty valuable.
Thanks.
For sure.
Damn, you're old, Jim.
I get it, Dave. I get it, man. I get it. No argument there.
Jim's notes were way different than mine. When I saw Getting to Know Us, I like long walks on the beach, candlelight dinner.
Yep.
Bubble baths.
Well, we know about the bubble baths.
Yeah.
No, I mean, everything Jim said, I have to echo. You know, all of this will be my 36th year, you know, coming up, and I can't emphasize everything that he said. every experience is something we have had. The things we talk about has happened to us. You know, I like to call us, we bat cleanup every day. You know what I mean? Something happens, our job is to bat cleanup. Someone has to go there, someone has to take care of this, someone has to fix that. You know, someone has to do the repair to the truck, someone has to do the repair to the facility or the car, or deal with the insurance, or, you know, and you know, luckily we're fortunate to have added so many great people here to help us with that, or even, you know, for the most part, do that for us. But we have done that, you know, our entire lives here. And you know, the years driving, the years running equipment, the years repairing things, and it's just never stopped. It's what we do. And I guess we do have a lot to offer. We'll never see it all. You know, every day we're amazed by something. I mean, we had 2 more things this week that it's like, oh my gosh, you know. We just sat yesterday, we have an insurance company that's, you know, kind of wooing us, that wants our business. And we sat down and, you know, they take the last 3 years worth of insurance accidents that were claims. And you guys, everybody in this room has on their wrist our safety band, that the contract we signed, that safety has no blind spots. And you've all heard me complain about it. But that insurance guy sat there, and I just melted in the seat again yesterday. And, you know, I was the one that did it last time by myself. You know, Jim and I were both there yesterday. But that guy goes into accident after accident after accident for 3 years worth of blind spot accidents.
That's it was like 2 rear ends and what, 6, 7?
Yeah, over the
Blind
last
spot?
3 years, Jim. And it, you know, they're like, were these preventable? Yes, 100%. Was this preventable? Yes, 100%. Was this preventable? Yes, 100%. I mean, you just sit there and you're like, and every single accident was a driver issue, right? Every single one that we had was a driver issue, right? So we sit here and tell you, you know, the combined of over 80 years of experience that Jim and I have. We're begging to listen to this podcast. We're begging to listen to the information that we have. We're begging you to take what our knowledge is and convey it in your driving habits. Use it on a daily basis. Enjoy what you do. I mean, we have sat here and probably laughed for 20 minutes. I mean, we're running late to get the podcast started. You guys don't know this, but I mean, us in the room, I mean, we sat here and laughed for 30 minutes almost uncontrollably, like some type of humor rained down in all the moisture last night. And we were like little kids in class here. We couldn't stop laughing this morning. So we like to have fun. We promote having fun in your job, but you can have fun and be serious and pay attention. You know, the accident we had hitting the scale yesterday, the damage to the step that goes around that DPF was $4,500. Everything we did approaching that scale, to pull on that scale, was wrong. That driver was not trained that way. We're all trained to pull up in manual gear, in first gear. You know, I've heard some people say we need to stop or be in manual, first gear, never be talking on the CB, right? This guy bailed up on there at over 9 or 10 miles an hour. I mean, he approached it at 12 miles an hour, then grabs the CB and talks on it just before the steer axle comes up on the scale. And I mean, we plowed the right side of that DPF box.
I don't think I've seen one worse.
Yeah, because of the speed, Jim, right? We've dented them before. We've hit them before, but because of the speed, we demolished that thing. $4,500, that's just the parts.
Right.
You know, luckily today we have a lot of trucks parked because of the rain. So Mike was like, I was able to get the parts. I'm down in the trucks. So now we've got the truck down for the day. We're paying the shop to repair it. We're going to have 8 hours. I mean, it's thousands in labor, you know, to do that, right? Mike had to round up the parts. We had to get it delivered. Now we're out there with it torn apart, disassembling it, trying to get it reassembled. That was just the scale. The day before that, we had an accident that we called it a hit and run because we hit the car and they ran. But we hit the car being our fault. And we're going to talk about it later on in the discussion. We actually were having a problem up at 119 getting on I-25 southbound. When we're under I-25 on Highway 119 or the 240 exit, getting on I-25 southbound. They have a bunch of construction set up there, but the left arrow that's there, it's old school. It doesn't have a red light. There's no red arrow, which personally I love. I love that there's no red arrow. That means we can turn on a green light.
There you go. When traffic clears.
Right. When traffic clears, you can turn on a green light. You can't just keep going because the green arrow goes away, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And we T-boned an Escalade, and the Escalade hauled ass and left. Either they were stoned or don't have insurance or whatever the situation was.
stolen
No
and
license.
stoned.
Yeah, stolen and
Probably
stoned.
stolen.
Whatever it is. I mean, I damage we did to that Escalade, and the dude hauled ass, right? We've called the police. We've, told everyone, hey, this is, yada, 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 our fault. But here's the back end of that. That grill is $5,500 that we need to replace. That truck is in here today to be repaired. That bumper is $800 to be repaired. So we're well over $10,000 in just two incidents that were
In one
100% our fault in one day, right? That doesn't mention the 3 clutches that were over $10,000. Now we've spent 20 grand in 7 days, 7 working days. We're 20 grand on 20 grand we didn't plan on spending. So, yeah, when Jim and I talk, we have a lot to offer, just like you guys do. Kendrick and Super Dave and Jam, we've learned a lot through this industry, but half of that 20 grand, the 10 grand, is unnecessary. It was 100% preventable. Like that insurance agent asked us yesterday, was that preventable? Absolutely preventable.
Yeah, I wrote that word down, Dave, and I again, we've not used people's names, but I know we've talked about accident before, and we had one gentleman quit, a month ago that we called him out on the podcast, and he quit. Right?
Not even using his name.
Yeah, not even
just discussing
yeah.
the blind spot accident.
Exactly, which most everybody in the fleet knew we had an accident anyway. It's not a secret. But the thing is the reason we talk about it is it's preventable. I mean, that is a great word.
Yeah.
It's not whether whose fault it was. It's because it was preventable. And a preventable occurrence is something you need to teach.
And why is that? Why do we need to teach that? Because it's human error.
Well, and that's why we have the safety committee meetings also to
Dave.
talk about it, to learn from it, to try to prevent it, try to spread the news about, hey, when you're on this job site, don't stay to the right, you'll get stuck, or just to try to educate everybody down the line.
Yeah, and I apologize. I totally sidetracked everybody. I've started into the discussions already, but because we need to go over Kendrick and Jam and Super Dave on getting to know you guys.
I mean, I guess that's what when I brought this part of the format up for the podcast, this is what I was after. This is the reason I want you to listen to the podcast. This is the reason. Please listen to what we have to say. And I thought about Super Dave's background, as many years as he's been here with us, and I know listened to you talk, and I thought, we don't drive around town and go, oh, I delivered over there. It's, that guy was broke down over there. That's where we tipped a trailer over. That's where we rolled over. That's where we lost a clutch. That's where we
had an accident.
Twisted a drive shaft. That's where we had an accident. That's what marks my day when we go around town. And I know you do the same thing, Super Dave.
No, not exactly. I look at the projects. I look and say, well, we worked on that school. I've hauled a bunch of dirt into that bridge, and that's kind of what I look at.
Gotcha.
Like
But I'm going to tag on. Sorry, Ken. I'm going to tag on you both, Jim and Dave. We're talking about educating and doing things as you were trained. And a lot of all these guys that we have working here now, they've learned in other places. They've done other jobs. They've, not grew up, I guess, like I have. I was so lucky because I was a new driver when I started at JFW, and I went to the JFW truck driving school. I went to Jim and Dave's driving school, and I learned that way from the beginning. And when people don't do that, then it's a little tougher.
Well, and you were bringing up earlier that, you're not going to say the people's names, but if you listen to the podcast, we used to meet out in the red shop. You used to have to stand up in front of your peers, all the other drivers, and say what happened, explain the incident, and then, what could you have done differently? And then both of you would then discuss it, or everybody would put in their input. And so it's kind of a trial by jury. And it's one thing I used to love about meeting as a group, because I had to stand up in front of the committee once, and it's humbling, and it makes you really think about what you actually did. And so you can't really have soft skin in this industry. You can't have thin skin with just accepting that you failed, you erred, but are you going to learn from it? And can you learn from other people's mistakes? And that was a great part of having it announced in front of the group. And that's the great part about this podcast, is you're getting a free ticket, an accident-free ticket. You learn from somebody else, and then hopefully you won't have the same mistake.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really good, Kendrick.
Yeah, I got to throw this out there too, so everybody gets the gravity of this situation. I met with 3 people over the last week or so that are looking for a job because their truck was, one, either totaled by a wreck, or 2 of the other guys broke down, and now they're out of business looking for a job because they can't afford to repair the truck, or their truck wasn't worth what the insurance company was going to pay or whatnot. So all of those accidents that you mentioned, Jim, and costs, we're lucky we're not out of business.
Absolutely.
And if we don't do something like this, drivers meetings, train people, talk about it, do anything, we will be out of business.
Yep.
You cannot have this kind of damage in these accidents and not go out of business. So how do we stop it?
Educate.
Talk about it.
We're doing everything, right?
Yep.
We're trying.
Yeah.
But if people aren't listening,
Right.
that's the point we need to drive home on this podcast is,
Yep.
When you guys that do listen to the podcast, guys and girls that do listen to the podcast, when you see someone out on the road and they do something and you're like, you should hop on the radio and go, hey, didn't you hear that in the podcast? We're not supposed to do that. Or, pass one of the drivers that's driving in the left lane all the way down Highway 85. You need to get on there and go, man, we talked about that in the podcast. You shouldn't be out there.
Hey, just mind your own business. It's not.
F
It's
you,
not.
driver.
Yeah.
F you, driver.
Yeah, it's none of your business. I'm driving this truck. I'm doing just fine.
Yeah, till you get a ticket.
I had a driver call me yesterday, and the driver reported another driver. Said, hey, we got a driver going up to Fry right now. It was raining pretty hard. He's out there getting it, no lights on, and just going too fast for the conditions. So I was able to call that driver and be like, hey, this is what's been seen. And he's like, well, I could see totally fine, and there's not a lot of cars out here. I'm like, well, I was like, it all has to do with perception too. Like, this is how you look to one of our own. Like, maybe you could just back it off a little bit.
And
bringing that up,
Turn
Jim,
the lights on, back it off a little bit.
Yeah. Do you think sometimes people don't realize what they're in and what it looks like?
Right.
We have so many people tell us, oh my God, are your trucks ever dirty, right? So, Lexi, this is a kudos to your wash bay. You and your dad's and your grandpa's wash bay.
'Cause you guys are
the
cool.
job they do, right?
They're cooler than I thought.
Right? You're
Yeah.
cool. You're cool. You're cool.
Stop right there.
Stop right there, Jim. Anyway, we're in a billboard, right? Yep. We are in a bright, shiny billboard. I mean, we stick out. We are like the thorns on every stem of a rose. You know what I mean? We stick out everywhere, right? I mean, we have people tell us all the time, I saw your trucks here. I saw your trucks there. I saw you in Rifle. I saw you in Grand Junction. I saw you in Colorado Springs.
I saw you hauling ass up I-70 with no lights on, just
Right?
getting it. God, what kind of drivers have you hired?
Right?
I had a neighbor come up to me the other day, and she was taking a walk with her grandchild and her husband, and she's like, oh, we saw one of your trucks the other day. And right away I'm just like, and yeah, it looked like a good truck and this and that. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Nice. Yeah.
She's like, I've never seen one before. I was like, well, you won't be able to unsee them now. Everywhere you go, you're going to see a jam
Right.
on your truck. So
Right.
Yeah, didn't mean to interrupt your train of thought, Dave, but that's the opposite of what we get. That's what we're trying to prevent.
Right.
And my closing thoughts, and I know we have a lot to do here, Jam, but you just said, you called the driver, and what did he say is like, well, there's not much traffic out here.
I could see fine.
I can see just fine, right? I mean, part of my closing thought is power of your words. What would be so refreshing is, damn, Jam, you're right. I'll slow down a little bit, turn my lights on. Everything's cool. Thanks for the heads up.
Right.
Well, here,
but it's an effing excuse.
Yeah.
Just so what if you can see all right? Maybe I see better than you do.
yeah.
I don't know.
Here's two words we use all the time: situational awareness.
Yeah.
Right? You have to have the situational awareness to go, well, I always drive 70 miles an hour in the fast lane on the way up here. Right. Well, not if it's raining.
Yeah.
Right? Well, I always drive
And
70
changing
miles an hour.
over.
Right. Up
You
here.
know, I talked to one of the guys, and it was changing over to snow at like, I don't know, 1:30 in the afternoon up there.
Remember, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right? I mean, how many times have you guys been in a snowstorm or an ice storm or just foul conditions, and you're over in the slow lane and you're putting along, and a couple rigs go past you double your speed, and you have that holy shit factor? You're like, oh my God, what do they know I don't know? Because I can't stop.
Right.
I can't stop, but those guys can? No, they have zero situational awareness. They don't know how fast they're going. They don't know what it looks like. They don't understand the conditions they're in. I mean, that's also a cognitive skill that you learn and grow from a child, right? That's something you adapt to. If you walk up with your hand and you touch a slick surface, it's slick. I would hope if you're in a truck, you have that feeling as well. You realize your tires are on a slick surface, and you know to slow down, right? So you don't slip and fall. It's the same principle. You've grown that cognitive skill from a child to adulthood, and hopefully you understand the magnitude of that situational awareness. You can realize you're in danger.
Yeah, and when when you guys are talking about the rain and the lights on the truck, and I'm seeing just fine, it's the other people, because we're the professionals, we're the better company, that we want to be out there on the road. Because there's going to be that guy that wants to try to pass you. Mm-hmm. He's going to get halfway down your trailer, not be able to see shit because of the spray back off your tires, right? And if he doesn't lose control, maybe what he can see is that marker on the side of your truck, and he doesn't hit you.
Yeah.
Or he knows I got to get past you.
But he's pushing as hard as he can.
He's pushing as hard as he can because he's out of control. But you're the professional that can control that situation,
right?
Either by slowing up, having your lights on, that kind of stuff. Control it. It's just like somebody getting on the on-ramp.
Let him in.
Let him in. You can either outrun them and probably not, or you can just let them in. You can drive for them because they're the idiots.
And what's less stressful, letting them in or not letting them in?
Oh. I mean, here's another way to look at it. Control the situation. Right?
Drive for them, Dave.
Yeah, you're creating a situation by not letting them in. Right. You're controlling the situation by letting them in. Yeah. And we've talked about it. This is like smacking my fist into my head when we talk about this stuff. It didn't cost you any time.
Yeah.
You didn't freaking lose a load.
No.
And I'm to the point, Dave, that like at a four-way stop sign, and if there's a lot of people pulling up to the four-way stop sign at the same time, I go extra slow. So I'm the absolute last one to get to the stop sign because I'm like, let all you idiots fight it out.
Absolutely.
I know I'm the last guy to go, and you do your thing. But I control the whole intersection by my actions. I don't have to worry about any one of those people.
Yep.
Then a different perspective, maybe your guys' point of view, how many drivers would be willing to plaster their cell phone number on the side of their personal vehicle and saying, how am I driving?
Yeah.
And call me.
Man,
and see how many phone calls you would actually get, because that's what the brothers go through every day of the big red trucks, JFW plastered on the side. And with everybody having a phone nowadays, they can sit there and pull it up real quick. Oh, JFW Corp. Okay, here's their phone number. Call them up. Hey, this guy's driving like an idiot.
Yeah, I love that.
And you're right, Ken, because now we've exposed ourselves even more. We're doing a podcast. We're advertising. We advertise for drivers. Social media. We've opened ourselves up. Take your shot. Okay? Be as mean as you want. Say as whatever you want about us, but this is what we're trying to do. And if we do that every day, none of what anybody says means anything. It will not affect us because in our hearts we're doing the right thing. And that's the win-win to this. So, and I thought when you say that's what the brothers go through, and wonderful comment, Ken, but we've now delegated that to other people that have to take those phone calls. So now we're moving the shit down the creek. Somebody else has to deal with it and try to navigate that, either from their own skills that they have or something we've taught them. And why make those phone calls? And we touched on earlier, I wanted to mention that Dave said, we have so many wonderful people here, and we got great people. And I thought about it yesterday. I'm like, man, it feels good. I feel good in my heart. And then we crash into the Escalade and we run over the scale, and not those two guys personally, those two situations, just like knock it down.
Right.
Dull it.
Sure. I get that.
So.
Super Dave, who are you?
Well, I said earlier, I was lucky. I came to JFW when I was a young guy, and I went to Jim and Dave's truck driving school, and I learned the right way the first time, and I feel very proud of that, and I've been here for 30 years, and I was also in a position at one point a long time ago in 1999 that we lost a couple trailers that year. One of them went around a corner too fast and put his load in somebody's front yard. And I think another one might have tipped over, dumping or something. I can't remember exactly, but they're like, Jim and Dave came to me and we were just talking, I think, and they're like, well, what can we do? How can we prevent this? And I said, we need to train these guys. We need to teach these guys, the right way to do things. And I said, I can do that. And so that's how I got into what I do these days. Now I have 15 trainers underneath me or that I work with to, try to train the drivers to do things safely and the right way and stuff. But I'd like to say that we did have success, and we did, teach people the right or wrong way to do things and that sort of thing. So that's my mission, and my passion is to try to help people be better every day at doing the thing. And, it's funny too, Jam, you mentioned how you had somebody say, I saw one of your trucks today. That happens to me all the time. And the first thing I ask is, were the drivers behaving themselves? And it's almost always yes.
Yep.
They sure were. They were doing a great job, and so that's it makes me feel good inside there.
Yep. I would say for the most part, we're doing it the right way.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Yeah, Jim.
Yep. Kendrick, who are you?
I've had a passion for vehicles and trucks from a young age. When back in the day, we didn't fly everywhere, we drove everywhere. And so on family trips, I learned watching my father drive, and just in a personal car. But I was always fascinated by the big rigs, cab overs, Kenworths, Peterbilts going down the road. Used to sit in the back seat and take pictures of trucks, had them up on my wall. Just always was interested in trucks, and then anything that had a steering wheel I wanted to play with. So then later on, I got on with a foundation form company here in town, and they had needed a driver. I started out in the yard, worked my way up into a driving position, ran a Class C truck. We started to get some semis. I asked if I could learn how to drive a semi, so I would stay after work and drive the tractor around the yard and practice backing. Went to a school, didn't really go to the school. I just went to the school to get my license and passed the test. Did all that and started to haul rebar and I-beams, then went into the food industry, rode for them for a while, learned about doubles, pulling doubles up over Rabbit Ears, Vale, all up through the mountains. Got tired of that, and just then finally wound up going into operations, and then finally came to JFW. Kind of got burned out on operations and just the overall pressures of the job and working 80 hours a week and just kind of burned out. So.
And you started as a driver here, and now you're a safety director.
Yes, and moved my way up in here, and I love teaching people. I wrote the training program for my last company that I worked for at Capital Lumber, and always loved teaching people new things. That's my passion also. So.
Awesome. The one thing I like about all the leaders at JFW is we've all been drivers for JFW, so that's where we really have the automatic authority to speak on things, is because we've done it. Myself, I started driving in 1999, so I've been in and out of trucks for, 24 years. I've owned a few businesses, so I understand that part of the business. Found myself running over the road, local, regional, done food service, all those type jobs. And then I became a driver here at JFW. I probably have about a year and a half experience as a driver here. And then I ended up coming back, and I've been in my position now for about 5 years. And that's just morphed into all sorts of different things. But basically, if it happens here, I have my finger on it, as far as accidents or policies or things that we're trying to prevent, stuff like that. So, and I host a podcast. And that's
It's the podcast hostess with the mostest.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And again, Jam, I kind of wanted to bring that up so people knew, like you mentioned, you've owned a couple businesses, you've had that background, you understand, maybe dealing with an employee or what that's with. Mm-hmm. Ken, you've been in a leadership role at your other businesses. I know Super Dave didn't mention it, but he was our wash guy for a long time. Mm-hmm. But that was his business. Right. He ran his own business. He knows the struggles of that. He knows what it takes to deal with a customer because he had his own customers. Then he's been here successful here with us for 30 years and the changes he's seen. And I guess that's what when we advertised the podcast, it was about truckers talking about truckers. We're truckers. Yeah. We have a background of knowledge and will we go out and make a mistake? Absolutely. I am not saying we're perfect, but I am saying I can pull on a scale, you guys, and not hit it.
Right.
Or I can pull on a scale and go, oh shit, I'm going to hit the scale and stop.
And here's the thing, we have the knowledge to help you do the same thing.
Exactly.
Right? We preach that. We talk about that. We've learned from other people's mistakes. Learn from ours or learn from someone else's. That's the key.
Yeah, yeah. And listen to you a minute ago, Ken, when you said people had to stand up and talk about their accident in front of the committee or in front of the group or whatever like that. That gave you accountability. That just made that nervousness washes over me when I hear you say that, because I don't want to be that driver that has to do that. And I've mentioned it dozens of times on the podcast, is my driving thing to be a better driver through the years was, that's the boss's kid. I bet he's an F-up. And I had to prove everybody wrong. No, I'm not. And I can't screw up because everybody's watching me. I have to set that bar. Dave had to set that bar. And that's our motivators. But everybody has to find that bar and create that. And then we, Dave does his high road hauling. We're all giving you a bar or some way to find a bar you want to set and achieve it. And you will have a happier life. It's the bottom line. So I feel like I'm preaching.
Preach. Amen.
Making that point.
Oh, yeah. So let's get into, we've mentioned a couple of these things, but let's get into what's going on around JFW, what we've been contending with this week, things that are coming up, programs and stuff like that. Jim, did you want to kick that off?
Yeah, I'll try to do it quickly, Jim. Something we want to throw out there, and we've discussed about it. And again, in mine and Dave's positions, we talk to a lot of people, see a lot of people. We find out how other trucking companies are doing it, how they're doing things. And something that was mentioned to us, Dave went to a deal with Kenworth that I mentioned to you guys a couple weeks ago. And one of the guys there in his business, his accidents down, he's getting phenomenal fuel mileage, his tire wear and all the kind of stuff. And he told the whole group with Dave, he goes, listen, he says, my trucks are governed at 60 miles an hour. And he says 60 miles an hour is the magic number. My company gets killer fuel mileage. He said, the tire wear, the accidents and everything like that. And he says, you know what happens at 60 miles an hour? He said, I save so much fuel, I can afford to pay my drivers even more.
Wow.
And so, I know before we started the podcast, somebody joked with me, have you ever driven 60 miles an hour? No. Okay, I don't drive 60 miles an hour. But we're going to throw it out there, help me out, Brother Dave, that if anybody, we'd like 10 guys that would like to have their trucks governed at 60 miles an hour and do what, 60 days, 90 days? Probably 90 days, don't you think, at least?
That's a big commitment. I think we will have our information in 30.
30 days? Okay.
Yeah, I think a 30-day commitment would be phenomenal.
We'd love to have 10 guys volunteer for 30 days to have their trucks turned down to 60 miles an hour. That's the top speed, cruise, pedal, nothing. That's the top speed.
Yep.
And run around town here, do all their dispatches, not come to dispatch and go, I can only drive 60 miles an hour. I can't go to Fair Play. Not that kind of volunteer.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
We want just go.
I can't go to Sterling. I only
Can't
go
go to
60
Sterling,
miles
yeah.
an hour.
Yeah.
I can't run Coors. I
Yeah.
only run 60
No,
miles
you're going
an
to be in the slow lane. People are going to pass you, and you're going to drive 60 miles an hour.
Yep.
We haven't set the exact percentage, but we will offer a percentage bump of some kind if you volunteer.
After we get our volunteers, we need to sit down and have a discussion as a group and create it.
Yes, on what that percentage bump. So
Absolutely.
we get 10 volunteers, your trucks get turned down to 60 miles an hour, and you get some kind of percentage bump for that 30 days.
Yeah.
And we'll discuss it as a group. So we're looking for volunteers. So
You could turn my Ram down for more money.
right? You don't ever drive 60.
No.
It's a hard concept, really is.
It is.
Yeah.
In talking to the owner of that, he's not the owner of that company, but probably one of the highest ranking employees there. After I met him, just cool dude, man. He's like us, been in the business his whole life, worked at that company his whole life, everything about it. And they have trucks nationwide. They have, they'll have, when I say a port, a location they have one here in Colorado where they service out of. They have one in Louisiana, one in California. Their big hubs in Pennsylvania. They have trucks nationwide, right? But he said, when you see those drivers come in at the end of the day, after just being chill in the seat, running 60 miles an hour, they are so relaxed. They are so refreshed. They just come out. They just pour themselves out of that truck like, hey, let's go run a marathon. Yeah, let's go to the gym. Let's go do that, because they haven't been keyed up. They haven't been tense. They haven't been, on the edge of that envelope. They're just sitting there watching life go by them to a degree. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's the right verbiage by any means, but I mean, I know when I pass those trucks on the road that are doing 60, I'm like, that guy's got to be pretty chill in there.
I know one guy, he probably doesn't even do 60 miles an hour. He should just jump right on this because he'll get a percentage bump and he's already doing it.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely, Jim. Absolutely. Hey, and then I think the other thing on the list here, and we need to talk about it. It's coming down the road, and it is. I can't talk positively enough about it, but we're going to totally switch at some point. But right now, Brandon has a new dispatch program, you guys, and it's called XBE. Again, XBE, and we'll need you guys to put that app on your phone. And I know, we'll probably get some pushback. Hey, another app on my phone, but it's going to be their dispatching app. It's going to be a lot like Axon that we have you guys in now. You're going to take a picture of your ticket. It'll be turned in. We'll get to teaching you about it and how it works. Some of the pits like Morton, Fair Play, was it 28, Dave, is the other pit?
Yes.
A few of those pits, you will have to do nothing. Nothing. It's going to be, if you have the app, the app's going to tell them that you were at that pit, and it will attach that load to your app to Brandon and go. So no picture, no nothing. And Brandon, it's a great looking app. You open it up, has Brandon at the top. You're working for Brandon. It's our number one customer, our greatest customer. So it's coming down the road, you guys. And probably in the next week or so, we'll start to have guys, send them out the information
Yeah, start using it.
use the XBE. So
Yeah, and that's XBE as in X-ray Bravo Edward. XBE, X-ray Bravo Edward.
absolutely. And we're going to use both of them, you guys. There's going to be Axon and XBE for a while here. But again, it's the future. It's going to make us better, make Brandon better. We have to jump on this stuff and be proactive. So just want to mention that.
And it should streamline some things for dispatch.
Oh yeah, right. Jam. Yeah, I think, I don't want to talk badly about it. It's going to be the learning curve.
It's going to be growing pains.
Yeah, growing pains. Yeah, there's with everything great. There's growing pains.
Right.
So yeah, no, you're right, Jam. And I guess just the way the app shows. I have the app on my phone already. Shows the weather. Shows the Brandon, shows the loads, all that kind of stuff. And you'll have to have the GPS on the app and that kind of stuff. But we're looking to make ourselves better, and so is Brandon.
Great.
And I know we've talked about the light. Are we going to go over the light anymore at 119?
I would just say, so just to add on that light, because it wasn't just the guy that had the accident. We put out a video on Paycom yesterday. It showed first a driver that almost had an accident there, and then the driver that had the accident. So it wasn't just a one-off. That light changes from green to yellow to nothing very quickly. So we just got to be super aware when we're turning south onto I-25 from Firestone Boulevard. If you don't have that green arrow, don't go, because the car is facing eastbound. They're watching that green light. They're like...
They're waiting for that green light.
Yeah, it's a NASCAR race.
Yeah, that's the race.
Yeah, they're ready to rock and roll. So if they're watching the light and you're turning and they're not looking, and clearly we could have an accident there. So just please be very careful over at that intersection.
Yeah, and then so we've talked a lot about scale. Mentioned the podcast being, it's not mandatory, but we want to make it mandatory because it needs to be mandatory.
I'd like to just speak on the scale, and we did mention it a little bit. Due to that driver's speed, the damage was great, right? So when I'm backing into my garage, I go pretty slow and I have the windows down, because if something does happen, you could minimize the damage. If that driver was going slower and heard a little something, it would have been a lot better than the pretzel of a DPF box that was left from that accident. So, Brother Dave says it all the time, speed kills. Just slow down and you'll minimize the damage in a situation like that.
I just feel like I just have so much to say, you guys. It's this, just what you just, would you back your pickup in slow? If most people, I bet they drive their vehicle slower than they're driving our trucks. Mm-hmm. That's my point to that, because they know there could be damage. Right. It's the same thing. Make that truck your vehicle, because it is. It is. It will help you in your future of employment with JFW.
Yeah, because think about it. Let's say we couldn't get the parts to fix that DPF box right away, or let's say you got into the fuel tank. Your truck is going to be down. Down. You may be able to go drive another truck, or you may have to be doubled up with somebody. But you're not going to be in your office. You're not going to be in your comfortable space that you made yours. So think about that a little bit.
That's what I have in my closing notes, Jam, is what brought you here?
Right.
The majority of the people that talk to Dave, they're like, oh, I've seen your trucks. It's the same thing I just said. I see them everywhere. They're beautiful. They're always clean. They're always out, all of that stuff. What if they just saw this fleet of carnage? Right. Who would want to come to work here?
Right.
No one. Right. Well, be better than you are right now.
Right.
You had a bad day today. Be better tomorrow.
Yeah. The guy that hit that Escalade. The front grille, the bumper. What if we couldn't? And the truck was drivable. Well, what if we couldn't fix that and make it look brand new again so quickly?
Right.
You'd be driving around and people would be looking at you like, "Wow, look at that driver. He doesn't know how to drive." The sad thing is, it wasn't even his truck. He wasn't even assigned that truck. The guy who drives that truck every day was on vacation. So imagine coming back to a truck that runs. It'll still go in your money, but you look like you don't know how to drive.
Yeah. And just look what it looks like to the state patrol.
Oh, yeah.
Jam, yesterday I got on the highway, got right up next to a truck he did a really nice job. He scooted over to the middle lane for me, let me up on I-70 at Quebec there. I was like, oh, man, this guy's a superstar. Guys, it was an old T2000 Peterbilt. It was a dark blue truck that had a light blue door, It had a white hood.
Oh, nice.
When I got in front of it, it had no bumper. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to be anywhere
Thing's
near
a
this
wreck.
guy. Right? I'm like, I don't want to be anywhere near this guy. So, you're not driving that truck, are you?
Yeah.
Right?
I want to mention something we haven't mentioned, and I because I've watched the video enough, I've seen it in the video. And the more important thing, and we've talked about damage, we've talked about the cost of things, we've talked about the downtime, and the thing that we haven't been able to mention, or we didn't mention it because we just haven't thought about it, is, and all you guys watch the video, is when we hit the Escalade, we hurt the guy in the Escalade. I mean, you can see him bounce around in the
He took a
Escalade.
ride.
And I know he fled the scene, whatever the situation of why he fled the scene, but we hurt the guy.
Yeah,
You
we
know?
talked about it. We can't believe his side curtain airbags didn't blow off.
Yeah,
I mean, we're
exactly.
dumbfounded by that.
Exactly.
I mean, just to be clear, we don't really know if we hurt him.
Okay, so the guy bounced in the cab
There you go.
is what happened to him.
He went for a ride.
He went for the ride in inside his Escalade.
Yeah.
And so the thing is if the guy would have stopped, what are we facing? But that has nothing to do with that part of it. That could have been anybody's family member.
Right.
And we preach that too.
That makes me sick. Right there. I mean, it just
Right?
it makes me feel funny, and then I get angry. Like if
Yeah.
if you ran that light and T-boned my wife and kid, we got problems.
Right.
You know, that really puts
Yeah.
it in perspective.
And
You know,
everybody's going to feel that way.
Yeah. And it still goes back to that situational awareness. I'm like, what's the first thing you do when you clear an intersection? When you're going to drive through an intersection, you have to have a green light, right? We had no light. We had no green arrow. But we went. It's mind-boggling, you know. And a couple of our videos, because we went back and got a little longer video, we're right behind a semi-trailer with a van on, right? A Schneider, right?
Yeah, big Schneider moving
And
down.
he's in front of us, so you can't see the light. We all talked about it. I don't know about you guys. My situational awareness says, hey, I don't know if that's a green light or not. A big truck's gone through. Those aren't usually very long lights. I need to let him clear to see whether I have an arrow still or not.
Right.
Right? And you wait. First thing you do, oh, I got an arrow. I'll go. Oh, I don't have an arrow. I'll wait. Right? I mean, these are fundamental movements you learn when you get your license. So things we need to be aware of, things we need to be cognitive, back to those cognitive skills. So
And-
I do have a joke about it.
Let's hear it.
I have to break the ice a little bit. You know, he got the new model Cadillac after that, right? Instead of an Escalade, it's a Smashcalade.
You must have thought of that one while you were taking a bubble bath.
Well, I had some time after the wine kicked in.
Not
That
for nothing.
escalated
Like,
quick. That escalated quick.
And the party continues this morning.
sucks to be that guy though too. You know what I mean? Like, what were you doing? Like, how are you driving on the road where you get hit by a big truck and you got to leave?
Right?
Right?
In an Escalade.
Yeah,
In an
like-
Escalade.
Like, what are you doing wrong in your life?
Yeah.
You know?
I'm telling
I
you,
bet-
he was stoned. He got home, he took a little nap, he
I
come
bet
back
it-
out to go to Taco Bell, and he was like, what happened to the Escalade?
Dude, where's my car?
Yeah.
His,
His name was
his,
Little Johnny, and he had took his dad's Escalade.
his parents don't love
took
him
his
no
dad's
more.
Escalade. Yeah. Right?
Next thing I want to talk about is start times. So start times or dispatch times. We had some weather come in last night. It was raining this morning. Paycom announcements went out last night. We have a 6 a.m. start today. What time did you guys see a truck headed up to Fry?
5 to 5.
5 to 5.
Yeah, it was before 5, Jim.
Yeah, so let's say
a.m.
probably 4:45, right? So then we get on Samsara to see who it is. Well, there's 2 trucks headed up to Fry.
Yeah.
So if we have a 6 a.m. start, there's a reason for that. Please don't leave before that. And we just talked about this either last week or the week before, right? We have a 6 a.m. start for a reason. We're waiting for our customers to decide what we need. Maybe the plants are already stuffed. We're not prepared to support you yet. Everyone's planning on you leaving at 6 or being here at 6. You know, if you left at 6, I mean, that's probably going to be okay.
Yeah.
But a 6 a.m. start means be here at 6. Be out of the yard by 7. We have a slow start for a reason. Unless you think you're better than the 100 other people that work here, you got to respect that.
I feel like that's situational awareness.
Or they didn't check their Paycom announcements.
That's what it was. They didn't look at dispatch.
Well, how did
Isn't
they know?
that situational awareness? You
How did
guys?
they know where to go this morning? If they didn't look at their dispatch, what are they
Right.
going to go do?
I don't. Sorry, Super.
Let me just ask one
Yeah.
question, and it's because I've never gotten dispatched on Axon, but we send out a system message ahead of time talking about start
Start
time.
times.
Is it also in your dispatch?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and I guess there too, Jam, is I don't want it to be confused because I don't think they got that dispatch, but we were asking for extra loads all last week, and I don't know if that extra load is dispatched on their dispatch or just asked. So are situational awareness, agree with all you guys, all that kind of stuff. The thing is back to your situational awareness. It rained most of the afternoon yesterday, all night long,
Right.
all this morning. It was raining when you left. Do you think we need an early load out of fries?
Right.
And that's the work with us. Work.
Situational awareness. Two words.
If you guys
Apply it
could
to
only see
everything.
Brother Dave's face,
How do you spell it?
situational awareness.
It's like all I want to say is an F word in front of it that ends in ing. Picture that, situational awareness.
Fawning.
Falling situational awareness. I don't understand what he means.
Yeah, every time we talk about something, I'm trying to make it better or drive the situation home. It's like doing the podcast. We usually try to start right at 7.
You're trying to create situational awareness.
I've been here since 5 o'clock, just sitting here.
Waiting for Kendrick.
What else, Jam? We got a lot more to.
I wasn't late. I was here at 6:45.
When you mentioned Howard Stern, I feel like I'm just going to get hate mail over this podcast. So.
Well, hate comments on Facebook.
I've watched the Howard Stern podcast, and I just want to know when we're going to start getting some of those guests.
I am
Kendrick-
not taking my clothes
Kendrick,
off.
no offense, but he's got some pretty hot guests, man.
Wow.
So isn't it called the Simeon?
Oh man! Next,
What's
we're
the
going to start
synonym?
Vibro Thursday.
There's a blast from the past.
Oh boy. All right, moving on. So we've been doing that Burnco haul, and there is a soft spot in the staging area at Burnco.
I thought you were going to say in your heart for that haul.
There is. If I was driving, I'd want to be on that haul. I know
Yep.
Randy was looking for hard wires on that. If I was a driver, I would have volunteered for that haul.
Nice.
Yep, absolutely.
When you do pull in off of Titan Road Parkway and you're going into the plant on the right side, there's some blocks, and then about 3 feet away from those blocks, that whole area is soft. We did have a driver that was trying to move over because it's two-way traffic going in and out of that plant on that same road. So he moved over to let another truck out, and when he went in, he started to crank his wheel, and that just started to plow. So we had him turn his wheel back, turn it a little bit to the right, back up. That got him back up onto a solid surface, and then he was able to turn left and then pull out. So
Gotcha.
if you're turning the wheel and you're still going straight, please just stop, because something's not right. Your tires, you're just plowing it.
I want to know, when we're the only ones hauling that, why do we have trucks having to wait outside?
There's still other companies bringing in the sand there.
Oh, so we have to wait on the sand trucks to get out of the way.
Yes.
Okay. Good answer.
And then we also sometimes had like 5 of our trucks that showed up at the same time. And
How
there's
does that happen?
not enough room back there. I don't know if they're waiting up at the Fair Play to ride along buddies, and so they have someone to talk to on the way down
So
instead of listening to the
waiting on
podcast.
both ends of the haul.
Yes.
Situational awareness.
Right.
Sharing your money, I guess.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Sharing paychecks.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
The next one's got me baffled though, Jam.
Yeah.
Can you spit that one out?
The next two.
It's kind of weird because I'm reading it as Kendrick was talking. I'm like, do we really need to say that? Like, it should be a no-brainer. But
Well, where did it come from? Did we do that?
I
right?
think maybe we tried to do it or went to do it or somebody
I
did
bet our
it.
listeners are dying to know already.
Yeah. So the note says no passing in the canyon, right?
What?
And we're talking
I have two
about,
words. I bet you guys can't guess what they are. Situational awareness.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even really know how to elaborate on that, but if you're in a canyon, first of all, the canyon's pretty much double yellow lines the whole way through. If you got somebody going slower than you, you just got to be patient. It's too dangerous.
Yeah.
That's how people get killed in the canyon.
That's how they die.
Yeah, is passing where you shouldn't pass.
Yeah.
So I don't even really want to hop on that too much. And then the same one, 285. So now that we're doing that fair play run a lot, on Highway 285, only pass in designated areas and make sure you can actually pass. Do so carefully. So,
Dude, a loaded truck can't pass things.
Right.
You know what I mean? Hard enough for an empty truck.
Right.
I mean, you've got something, when I say 75 feet long, the trucks and trailers aren't that long, right? But they need minimum that much movement in front of that other vehicle to get in front of it. You need 2 truck links to get in front of that vehicle you're passing. And it is not worth it. No matter how slow you think you're going, time it.
Yep.
I mean, if it's going to cost you 5 minutes and you need paid for that, we will gladly pay you. If you're that desperate to put yourself in harm's way or someone else in harm's way, oh my gosh. Number one, you just probably shouldn't even be working here. You shouldn't be that person here. So,
Yeah, I think that's where the situation,
everything's situational awareness.
yeah, but I was going to say, that's the whole situation that 60 miles an hour, your truck being governed at 60 miles an hour, takes away from that.
Right.
Because you can't do that.
Right.
And so there's no need to do that. And you're safer, better fuel mileage, better on the truck, better on the equipment.
Better on you.
Better on you. There's the safer for everyone else, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially going up 285, now that the motorhomes and campers are going to be starting to pop out, you're going to have to really watch it going up there, and you're not having the opportunity. And if the individuals about the canyon, if they're talking about passing, coming down the canyon or going up the canyon on 285 at Turkey Creek, that's definitely not a place that you want to be passing in. Just keep it in the slow lane. And
yeah. And you want to talk about perception. Now that we got a sea of red trucks going up and down 285 again to fair
Right.
play, I mean, we got to be on our best behavior.
Absolutely.
And do things the right way.
I was just going to mention that, wonderful haul we picked up, Burn Co., better relationship with Brandon, all that kind of stuff. But that doubled our loads out of fair play. So it doubles our exposure, doubles, that's all I think of. Oh, we got a haul. Oh, that's great. And then I worry about all the things it means to us.
Yep. Yep. Historically, we get call-ins from the public
Absolutely.
from
Jim.
that haul, so.
Why?
Typically speed. Speed is a big one.
And what causes that?
Situational awareness.
Human error, right? Because they don't have the cognitive skill
Right.
that provides them to use their situational awareness,
Sure.
right? I mean, it fundamental. These are fundamental things.
Yep. Next on the list should also be pretty fundamental. No texting, even if your phone's in a dash mount. So great for you to have your phone on a dash mount because that prevents you from looking down at your phone and handling your phone, but you still can text and drive. I mean, if you're focused on text messaging your phone in a phone mount, you're not focused on what you need to be focused on. So keep that in mind. The next one we've already covered, and then Eric Burnham, this was interesting. He says we're starting to see more wildlife coming out onto the roadways, so be very careful and remember that sometimes you may just have to hit something, in regards to wildlife instead of getting into a wreck. So, I just picture like a squirrel running out in the middle of the road. You lock it up and end up going in a ditch or something. I would rather see the squirrel move on.
Right.
Same thing with deer, elk. It's just, if you could get stopped and there's nothing behind you, great. But
Right.
you got to look at a lot of things really quick to know that you could do that safely.
I think there's some acronym for swerving for animals. I can't remember what it is.
Huh.
I thought that something sticks in my mind because, it's an animal or a ditch and lay a truck over or something like that. We can repair that truck pretty easy. The
Yeah.
front of it for hitting a deer or an elk versus laying that whole unit over in a ditch or,
Right.
swerving into oncoming traffic.
yeah.
Or
I mean,
there's so many worse things rather than hold your lane, don't panic,
Right.
brake, do the best you can. And
Yeah.
that's That's called situational awareness.
Yeah, if you
We
kill
haven't
somebody,
talked about it yet, but
if you kill somebody trying to avoid a rabbit, I mean,
yeah,
how's that going to make you feel?
right.
Yeah, it's a good note from Eric, and just like all you guys are saying, it sounds terrible, but take the animal.
Yep.
Thank God I saved that rabbit.
Joanne shot me an email on a couple things. She wanted to remind everybody to clock out on Fridays. This seems like a very common weekly occurrence. This week, Joanne had to go into about 14 people's time cards. She's got to go do the research first to see what truck they're in. Then she's got to go into Samsara and see what time you got back to the yard to clock you out. It's your responsibility to clock out. If you want to get paid, clock out, right? She also put a note, please clock in when you leave the yard. Make sure you're clocked in, and make sure you clock out when you get back to the yard. Also, trainers should clock in as instructors in cab or shadow, and the trainees should be training in cab or shadowing. So definitely use the right job description. That helps her with payroll to get you paid the right way.
I mean, it shouldn't be difficult if you're using situational awareness.
I think that's great notes, Jam, and I think there's other companies out there. She's done the research. She made sure you were paid. She's done all her stuff. She was your hero, and all she's asking you guys to do is sign out on your time cards.
Right.
And I know other companies, they just wouldn't pay you for Friday.
Right.
It was incomplete. Whether you worked all day or not, whether you had a start time, that's incomplete.
Right.
They may take care of it the next week,
Right.
but that week it's not going on. So why are you guys putting your stuff on somebody else?
Yep.
Why are you making it a responsibility of one of your other teammates?
I got a question for you, Kendrick. What would Bill Belichick say to that?
Do your job.
You also wouldn't start next week, I bet.
No, I'd be sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, most companies, if there's a mistake, the mistake is on you. Nobody's coming to help you. You got to figure it out. They probably won't even tell you that there's a problem. You'll have to realize there was a problem and then get it taken care of. So the other thing Joanne wanted to bring up, and we just brought this up a few weeks ago as well, your driver settlements are only to check to be sure that all your tickets are entered and accounted for. The driver settlements don't show your percentage bump or anything like that. When she sends out the checks on Wednesdays for your approval, that's where you'll be able to see your percentage bump breakdowns and stuff like that. If you need help with this, Joanne's happy to show you. Just come upstairs after you're done for the day, and she'll walk you through it on Paycom where you can find all that information.
And most of the time, too, if all your tickets are on there, it's going to be correct because then the percentage bump and all that kind of stuff happens automatically. Right. The first piece is make sure all your tickets are on there and they're dated correctly.
Yep.
Easy steps.
Yep. Yeah, I know when I was driving, at the end of the day, I would take a picture of my ticket report. It would just have all my tickets and my weights on there. I know we do it in Axon now, so it's a little different. But I would come up with some system where when I get my driver's settlement, I could just match all those ticket numbers and be like, everything's there, So.
Yep.
All right, Ken, we appreciate you coming on today. You recently went down to, was it the CMCA?
Yes.
And you got to sit on their S.A.F.E.R program.
Yes.
You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. JR and I got to go down to CMCA and went through this S.A.F.E.R defensive driving method. And it is just an acronym for S.A.F.E.R, which is S stands for the C, the hazards. And so when you're identifying and see hazards as soon as possible, an example would be a car that's weaving down the road. You see a pickup truck that's hauling scrap metal and it's piled up and has one strap going across it. There's a potential of that material falling off and falling in front of your vehicle. A ladder that might be on top of a ladder that might be on top of a van, and they've got 5 ladders stacked up, and again a bungee cord holding them on. I've got a question for you guys. Have you ever seen a good ladder laying in in the middle of the highway.
That'd be
Right
a
next
good,
to the good couch.
that would be a good question for Marty.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Marty's got a couple.
No,
But usually
every time
not.
I've seen a ladder on the highway, it's destroyed.
And so usually that ties into why we want you to have that 4 seconds of distance between the vehicle in front of you and our truck, because when that ladder comes out from the vehicle in front of you that ran over it, it can puncture a tire, it can rip out airlines, it can damage our trucks. You might swerve to miss it, just like we were talking about with wildlife. So you always want to have that gap and be aware of the potential hazards that are out on the road.
Kendrick, I have to jump in there right quick.
Sure.
I'm just grabbing everything you're saying, right? And I want to jump in there on one word you used. You said, we want you to have a 4-second following distance. What is recommended when you get your license?
Well, that's, of course, it's 10 seconds it's one truck length for every 10 miles an hour going under 40. And then it increases by 1 second over 40. Does that make sense?
Jam's
Back
looking
up.
I've never heard that before.
It's
Truck lengths?
1 second for your truck length. For every 10 feet of your truck, If you have a 40-foot truck, then it's 4 seconds.
Are you up to the mic, Ken? Just make sure you
So
don't.
I didn't know if he's cutting this. Everybody's kind of stopped.
No, we're
this is discussion, and
we'll kick it out.
my only goal is we're just following up and saying, hey, this is the minimum that's
Right.
recommended in the United States, right? Jim and Dave just didn't make
No.
up this rule, and I'm not pointing fingers, Kendrick. I'm trying to drive the point home. This is the minimum recommended recommendation, right? From the United States, any state you go in, that's the minimum recommended time distance. So when we have a driver that gets an alert and it's sent to us and they're 1 second behind that car they're following, I'm not following too close, and you send them the video and they're like, still arguing. And it's like, dude,
Yeah,
look.
Just so you know, what we discuss here typically is 4 seconds following distance at 45 miles an hour, and then 1 second more for every 10 miles an hour.
And the
over
way they
55.
described it was 1 second every 10 feet of your vehicle length at speeds below 40, and then for speeds that are over 40 miles an hour, they add an additional second for safety.
Gotcha. Yeah. So,
That is definitely saying the same thing,
Basically,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And agree, and tying on to yours, that when we show individuals the 1 second of time, and even now with 1.5 seconds, it's not until they have an incident where they look to adjust the radio, they look to grab something out of their lunchbox, they are typing, hopefully nothing, they're looking at something on their phone, and then all of a sudden their eyes come back to the traffic and traffic's come to a stop.
Right.
And then they realize how much it takes to get that truck stopped in such a short period of time.
Yeah. Just like we use the saying, 4 seconds following distance is the minimum. Who else is in this room has heard the saying, your life just changed in 1 second?
Yep.
Right? That's from those people that didn't give themselves 4 seconds because they just chose one. Their life just changed in 1 second because they just had a life-altering accident in 1 second.
Might sound stupid, but so 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004,
That's pretty slow.
right? But how fast did that just seem? I mean, did I take a bunch of your guys' time up?
Right.
No.
Right? And I want to clarify, how do you measure that? Because I don't ever know, have we ever talked about how we measure that?
We do when we go over it with our drivers when they have a alert that comes up on SimSARA about following too close. So we will ask them to find a fixed object, a road sign, a barrier, a flag, whatever.
Yeah.
And then
Mile
when the
marker.
back of that vehicle ahead of you passes that, start your counting like you just did. And then when the front of your vehicle gets to that same marker, then that's how far you are away from them.
That's the following distance.
Yes.
Yeah, in 4 seconds just isn't a whole lot, is it, guys? And I know
If I
it's,
leave that big a gap, cars just pull in it.
Right. You're right, Dave.
Yep, they take away your following distance. It's your job as a professional to create that distance again.
Right.
Because what are we going to do? Sorry, Jim. We're going to control
Right.
the situation.
Yeah.
Because we have situational awareness.
Plus, also, some of those cars might actually create that distance for themselves because they're not going to be there very long.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ken. Sorry.
You're fine. So it's interesting that you guys have been bringing this up, this whole conversation, and a lot of this has been, as we were even talking about it before the podcast, that if you're a professional driver, you know all of this, and putting it into action, it really is just what I do every day, or what we do every day. So always be to avoid to see the hazards. You can slow down your driving so that you can have a longer reaction time and be able to see ahead. You're looking 15 seconds ahead or a quarter mile when you're on the interstate or a highway. Adjust your speed for road conditions, weather, and traffic. And then keep your eyes and head moving every 5 to 8 seconds. So when I say keep your head moving, I don't mean just bobbing your head while you're riding in the truck like a bobble doll. But you're looking at your mirrors. You're looking on your right side. You're looking at your spot mirror. You're looking at your curb mirror. You're looking at your driver's side mirror. You're watching your gauges. You should know what...
Scanning the roadway.
You should know what your speed is. You should know if you've got an alert on your dashboard that something's wrong with the truck. So that basically wraps up your seeing your hazards. The A stands for anticipate actions. So you always have a plan or an out, so that you're always, if you have a hazard, you see that hazard, that ladder fell off and is now in front of you. Is there a vehicle on your right? Is there a vehicle on your left? Where are you going to go? Can you brake? Is someone on your backside and too close?
You would know that because you're scanning the road.
Because you're scanning everything. You're watching, and you're aware of what's going on around your vehicle. Situational awareness.
You're anticipating the actions of others and changing situations. What do you use in changing situations? Situational awareness.
So if you're anticipating their actions, it doesn't just mean drivers or things that are falling off trucks. You also have to be watching the weather. We have a truck that's going up to Wyoming today, and it's 300, 400 miles away. So what's going on here doesn't necessarily mean that it's not snowing up in Wyoming. It's elevation change. It's a road that the driver's not familiar with. He was asking a lot of questions. I spent 11 years in Wyoming, so I was answering a lot of questions. Told him a couple of places to go eat. But, he needed to make sure that he has his chains on him, that he has the key for the chains for the cam locks, that he has winter gloves, that he has the appropriate jackets, gear, just to make sure that if he does run into a storm, he's going to be okay and be able to get through it. So anticipate what your actions are going to be to deal with all these different changes. What else do I have? And then some of the clues about and warning indicators include cars passing you. They may cut back in front of you into your lane too quickly. A stale green light can change at any moment, causing the traffic or you to have to stop abruptly. Road warning signs providing indicators of changing road conditions. Pedestrians, runners, and bicyclists on the or near the roadway. Motorcycles, they can stop and maneuver quickly. And also, when there is a motorcycle in front of you, your view of your eyesight, your vision will drop down, and you're not going to be looking up ahead because it's a smaller vehicle. And so you're going to be looking down, and now you're not going to be able to see or be aware of what's going on up ahead, a quarter mile, 15 seconds ahead of you. So all these different things change your perspective as you're driving along during the day. Then it goes to F for find space. So creating space and managing it so you have time to react to potential dangers. So controlling what's going on around your truck, adjusting your speed. If somebody's riding alongside you and they're trying to pass you, and you're going to fair play, and you're doing the 65, but you know the lane's going to be ending up ahead, and you're in that right lane, slow up and let them pass you. There's no sense in keeping up with them and running them off the road, or you getting run off the road. You're going to run out of space. So again, control the space around you, know what's behind you. Space can be created by adjusting your vehicle speed, increasing following distance, making a lane change, giving the right of way, maintaining visual awareness, and always planning ahead and not being complacent. Your space can be managed by, and this will go into, if I leave 4 seconds in front of me, somebody's going to cut in front of me. That can be managed by following your following distance, removing distractions, managing speed, vehicle positioning, maintaining visual awareness, not driving aggressive, being patient, and being alert. So, and finally, it's your E is, that's not finally, excuse me. E is for evaluate your conditions. So evaluating your conditions, it's that the road and highway conditions are constantly changing due to many different variables. The traffic conditions can be created by weather, rain, snow, sleet, fog, accident and crash scenes, heavy traffic volume, animals on the roadway, debris on or damage to roadways, construction zones, implements or of husbandry or slow-moving vehicles on the roadway, and traffic control device malfunctions. So just even driving on I-76, most everybody knows coming eastbound, going over the bridge, going over I-25, it doesn't matter what lane you're in, there's major dips, and it's very hard on the trucks. You hit those at 65, 70 miles an hour. You could blow out a tire. You can do damage to the truck. The suspensions aren't built for it. So you're actually creating another hazard for yourself just by road conditions. And that's not including weather. It's not including all the other things that you find on the roadway during your daily drive.
Right. You know what evaluate conditions reminds me of?
Situational awareness.
It's the same word.
Like I said, most of this all of us already know, but again, it's a good point. If you're ever going into a new course or going into a class, it's important that you try and find things that apply to you and that you can learn something from. So again, we did find it very informative. But the last one is R for react. And so when you're reacting, you obviously don't want to just jerk the wheel and flip the truck over because you were trying to avoid that rabbit. But with the prior planning and knowing what's around your truck, you're going to have an out. You're going to know what you can and can't do. Is there a car on my right? So can I move over? Now all these different steps have prepared you so that you can react safely and keep the truck all together and keep you safe. So as a driver, it is important to react to constantly changing situations. There are many things that you can do as a driver to situations, as reducing your speed, increasing following distance, covering the brake pedal, changing lanes, stopping, communicating, and many more. Be defensive with your actions, react early and often. And when you react by communicating, including making sure that the others see you. Ways you can communicate include using your turn signals, like 4 seconds before you change lanes and going into that blind spot. Use of your flashers, use of your headlights, tapping the horn, and brake lights. So again, it's just, I hate to say that it's common knowledge because it doesn't seem to be common knowledge anymore. And so whether you've owned your own truck or you're like me, where you've come from a different company where you were not responsible for taking care of your truck, you weren't held to that higher standard, that higher bar that Jim was talking about earlier, You have to do that here. We expect a lot from you because we expect you to do your job. We offer the training to get you to be knowledgeable, to do all the different road conditions. Super Dave does a great job of interviewing you and making sure that you are to our caliber and that you are a good driver. And then JR takes over, or I take over, and we do the orientation, and then we work with you. We are always at your disposal to help you out with whatever situation. And one of the biggest things that it said in the at the end there in the react is just stop. And you've heard that time and time and again on the podcast. So I think that's one thing that I definitely took away is a lot of the things that you heard through this whole thing, we've already discussed and we continue to talk about on a weekly basis.
I think the S.A.F.E.R program would make you a safer driver. See hazard, anticipate actions, find space, evaluate conditions, and react. I think it's a great program.
It seems kind of an oxymoron until you really think about it, is the react to just stop.
Right?
Stopping doesn't seem like reacting, but the
is.
reaction is stopping.
Yeah.
Just stop the pain.
If you look at all the incidents that we've been talking about today, whether it's going through the light and if they would have just stopped,
Right.
it wouldn't have occurred.
Yeah, no.
If he would have stopped before going on the scale, rolled down the window, look out the window, see how far you are on the driver's side. Wow, I'm 2 feet over. Well, you're going to be hitting the scale on the other side, on the passenger side.
Yep.
And so
Backing up, not sure if you're going to hit some, stop. Putting your trail in the air, not sure if you're level, stop.
I'm stuck.
How did
Stop.
I? Yeah, you guys. How did I react to that?
I stopped.
I stopped.
And are
Sounds
we?
like situational awareness.
And I would much rather somebody make fun of me. Wow, you got your truck 5 times to back into that spot?
Yep.
Sure
Yeah.
did.
Absolutely.
Did I hit anything?
What does
Nope.
Mike Bort say?
Yep.
Pulling forward is free. Backing into something costs a fortune. Yep.
Good job, Ken.
Yeah, good job, Ken. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you going down there and partaking in that. Questions from the audience. Arturo Mendoza and was it John Moore, did you mention?
It was. Yeah, he texted me last night, Jim.
Yeah, so they both want to know, can we get a fuel cloud tablet here at the main yard to make fueling easier?
The answer is yes. I've called, working on it.
Okay, great. Well, that's progress.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit harder job than just buying a tablet.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we could go to Best Buy or order one online if it were that simple. But
We get one on Amazon here today.
right.
But it's
exactly.
more
yeah.
complicated than
Yeah.
the actual.
Has to be hardwired in.
Yeah.
Case cover. Weather protected.
Right.
Yada yada yada. Nothing we do here is simple,
Right.
but it is right.
So did you get a hold of the guy that did it at the Yard 23? Or?
I'm working on it.
Got it.
So,
Got it.
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Hey, and on those lines, and I know it's going to stop, but I just watched it happen the other day. If you're in and up at Yard 23 and you were hauling salt, which we just did, I think we're doing it today or Thursday or something, Friday, and it's the last load of the day and nobody's there, get fuel.
Right.
If nobody's over there, get fuel. It is the same fuel. It's the same company. I don't know if you...
I mean, even if somebody is over there. And
Yeah, if there's 2 people, it doesn't mean like it has to be empty, but grab fuel over there.
I mean, clearly, I'm going to drive this home during the podcast, but that's situational awareness.
Jam, you can't, the announcement for the podcast, you can't name it situational awareness. You can't.
the title. I do need to come up with a title.
You can just call me Sit for short.
Jack Aquenda Mejia, he wants to know, since we're not moving trucks 1 through 9 to yard 23, can we blade or smooth out the parking spots in spots 1 through 9? And then also the guys in the red light have brought up the same thing. So, I mean, I think we have plans to do that. What are we waiting for?
Scooby.
Yeah, and it was a weather thing, and again, I know the blades here, we moved it over here, and then this week it's raining, so we just need to dry it up. We got no frost in the ground or shouldn't have any more, so yeah, definitely on it, guys.
Yeah, and I know Scooby was grading the red lot yesterday.
Was
he? Oh, was he?
Oh,
was
perfect.
working on it.
Great.
We have all this recycled asphalt that we can't get to today, which would be a perfect day to do it, but we didn't, we didn't have any situational awareness. Looking forward to the weather. We can't get to the recycled asphalt pile because we have to drive through the mud to get to it. So we need to we need to plan that a little better, you know.
it.
And obviously, when we're busy, we're trucking.
Right.
We're not working on our own yard, you know,
Right.
because we're working for paying customers. So we gotta, we just need to take a few minutes, get a few loads over here, then we can move it with the skid steer or the blade or the loader. Or, you know what I mean? We just got to make it happen. So I know Scooby has started on it.
Oh, perfect. And I love the questions. Ask the questions.
Yeah, the questions are great.
Bring the questions.
I mean, that's the whole purpose of the question for the audience segment of the podcast is we want to know what's on your mind.
Yeah.
So
I have a question for Jack. Jack, if we grade that and make that nice back there, will you park back there?
I think he's talking about the truck parking.
And I'm talking about the car
The
parking.
cars are supposed to park in the truck spots over there.
Gotcha.
But that's something, too, to grade that part of the yard. We'll have to announce ahead of time.
Right.
For the people to park.
Good point, Dave. Yeah,
another
good
place.
point. Yeah, totally.
Before we move on, so Ray did send me some tips and tricks like 10 minutes before the podcast started, so I'm going to try to get through that. But I did see, if you guys haven't heard, Alexa Bartell, she was a girl that was killed by somebody threw a rock at her car. Did you guys hear about that? Over in Arvada?
Up on
Yeah,
Indiana.
did they get the guy?
They arrested three guys for that murder.
Probably
Yeah.
teenagers, I'll bet.
They are teenagers, or young men, because they're naming their names, so they're not minors.
Oh.
But they arrested 3 people. Yeah, they threw a rock at cars, and they actually killed a girl.
Wow.
Yeah.
She's on Indiana going up by
Yep.
Arcosa,
Yep.
just to the east of it.
Wow.
And she was on the phone with a friend of hers, and all of a sudden the line went dead, and her friend was able to track her phone, went to the site, and
Found her dead.
she's down in the ditch with a rock came through the windshield.
Wow.
It's been happening on Highway 93, all through Jeffco.
128, Highway 72.
What sick?
Right.
Man, I got a lot of words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those
Especially when you have daughters, it's like,
those 3 people, they probably weren't thinking they were gonna. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking. They weren't thinking at all.
Yeah, even if they
But-
didn't kill anybody, they no respect for. Sorry,
Right.
Dan.
Yeah. No, you're.
Makes me sick.
That's why I brought it up, because it's really been bugging me this week. I mean, I'll show you a picture of the girl. It's just terrible. It's so sad. But I'm so glad that they actually, here's a picture of the girl that they killed. I'm just so glad that they caught the guys.
Right.
That needs to be taken care of.
Absolutely.
So they're all charged with first-degree murder.
Fantastic.
Perfect. I hope.
I hope they all get what they deserve.
Yeah.
All right. Tips and tricks from Sean Ray Davis. He wants to talk about drop and hooking a trailer. When hooking to a trailer, check your fifth wheel plate and that your fifth wheel blocks are locked under the fifth wheel if you're pulling an end dump. So what he's talking about is when we're end dumping, our fifth wheel plate on the trailer is flexible. Our fifth wheel will get pinned or locked where that does not have any flex in it. Everybody's seen, a bobtail going down the road. Your fifth wheel, if you look at their fifth wheel, typically they're going to be angled up at less than 45 degrees, but you'll be able to tell that that's the flexible part. Not the case when we're hauling end dumps, because is it the apron, or what would you call that part?
Yeah, the apron plate on the trailer.
Yeah,
is movable.
the apron plate on the trailer is flexible. So, if you also want to make sure we have the permanent slip discs that are now installed in the fifth wheels themselves. Otherwise, you need to grab a slip disc, but those prevent us from having to grease the fifth wheels, which is nice. Let's see. If you are using the slip disc, you may need help getting that placed correctly. You may need somebody to hold that the fifth wheel apron, the apron plate up, so you can back under it. And you want to make sure your airbags are deflated before pulling under the trailer. You also want to move that hydraulic line out of the way to make sure we don't back into that or break that. And then once you're under the trailer, you can inflate your airbags back all the way up before pulling forward, and make sure that your fifth wheel is locked. I like to duck under there with a flashlight, make sure the bar is going across the kingpin.
And that the handle is locked.
And that the handle is locked, yes.
All the handles
forward.
on all the fifth wheels have a jagged edge that once it goes in, it slides over and you can't pull that handle out.
Yep. And remember, the legs are aluminum, so if they're still on the ground, you could bend them if you go to pull forward while they're still down. So what you would do in that case, right? You're hooked up, but you can't get the landing legs up. You got a trailer that you can put up in the air. Put your trailer in the air until those legs come off the ground. Yep. Make sure when you're hooking up, all the lines are properly secured and not dragging on the catwalk. Make sure your butterfly valve is tight. You want to do that. If your butterfly valve is not tight, one of the first indicators will be when you go to put your trailer down, it's going to have some bounce in it. Okay? If you tighten up that butterfly valve, it should take care of that problem. Make sure you do a good pre-trip and all the lights are working, the top is working correctly, and take your trailer up off the saddle to make sure that goes up in the air. Make sure your gate can be open, but also make sure it's closed before you leave the yard. Hope you also stay safe out there. Much love and respect always. Ray 0012. And remember, safety has no blind spot. And let's be more situationally aware of our surroundings.
I love Ray.
Man, you guys.
My hero. There's one thing I want to add to that he kind of touched upon it, but we need to drive it home. All of those aluminum landing legs that we have, they're called pipe and pin. When we pull the pin out, we slide the pipe up, which is the landing leg. We put the pin back in. We need to be damn sure that pin is secured, holding that leg in. We have had so many pins come out, and coincidentally, it's almost always on a trailer we've just dropped and swapped or dropped and hooked or hooked up to or whatnot, which means, it ran 6 hours and it took that long for that pin to vibrate out because it wasn't latched properly. And it is a big deal. Yep. I mean, it is a big deal. We've had those legs come out. They're grinding down the road, just bouncing there, and then they break away. They
peel the pipe.
Peel the outer layer of what they're in out, right? And then that leg goes out. We drive over it with the trailer. It could fly up and go through someone's windshield, just like that girl that was killed, right? Yeah. So I mean, every situation we're in, we need to have situational awareness. We need to be aware of those things. We had a car damaged a year ago, right, Jim? And of course, that leg came out, and we found the lowest vehicle ever made, right, that ran over it. I mean, we dented the oil pan. We broke the spoiler. We ruined the gas tank.
Hit the exhaust.
Yeah, hit the exhaust. I mean, I think we had $5,000 damage to the bottom side of this
Pretty
damn
sure
car.
Like $5,300.
Yeah, I mean, it was, and of course, we're the type company. We could have fought that. We could have denied that, but it was our landing leg, right? We failed at doing that, and all of these things are not mechanical failures. They're not, right? It's a human error. Right. And these are the things we talk about, just with Super Dave, myself, and Jim. I did the math while we were, talking about it, but we have 107 years of experience just between three of us in here, right? Well over 110 or 115, adding Jam and Kendrick to it. And we've seen these things, right? We talk about these things to make you situationally aware. I know when any one of us go out and we're helping a guy hook up to a trailer and we pin that leg damn sure is not going to come out on our shift, right? We know that fifth wheel is latched closed. We know that butterfly is correct. We know those airlines aren't dragging the deck plate. We've done this. We know how to do it, and we preach about it. Gosh, I mean, you could just go on and on and on. I mean, sometimes Jim and I carpool, 2-3 days a week. We'll get here, and I'm sure everyone thinks we sit just to look at the trucks. We're actually talking about business because it's one of the few times that we have to ourselves where we can have private conversations without people around about private things that we need to deal with. And a truck will go by leaving the yard, and his lights are out. And it's like, hey, 00 whatever, did you know your lights are out? Well, they were working. Well, when were they working? Last week? Because they weren't working just now. You just left pulling out from your supposed pre-trip inspection, 30 seconds ago, right? Someone drives out. Hey, your gate's open. Oh, I forgot to grab it. Dude, you didn't do your walk around. If you left this yard and your gate is open, you don't even want to know what I think.
Right.
You don't even want to know where you just lowered yourself to on your ability level in my eyes. Right? Because you are not doing your job. You are not focused. You do not have any situational awareness. You are not prepared. You need to get your game face on and get your head in the game to do this job and do it well.
Soup, why don't you hit us with the high road hauling?
I will do that. So this story will make you cry. if you haven't cried in the last couple of days, you listen to this story,
Son of a-
you
Is
will
that
cry.
a challenge?
I need some water.
And
You can't
I
cry when
know
you're drinking
because
water.
I've actually experienced this with my dad when I come from Connecticut, live in Colorado. So when my dad was in hospice, I had to fly back and see him, and it was probably one of the hardest things I ever did. But I wish you enough. At an airport, I overheard a father and daughter in their last moments together. They had announced her plane's departure, and standing near the door, he said to his daughter, "I love you. I wish you enough." She said, "Daddy, our life together has been more than enough. Your love is all I ever needed. I wish you enough too, Daddy." They kissed goodbye, and she left. He walked over toward the window where I was seated. Standing there, I could see he wanted and needed to cry. I tried not to intrude on his privacy, but he welcomed me in by asking, "Did you ever say goodbye to someone knowing it would be forever?" I replied, "Yes, I have." Saying that brought back memories I had of expressing my love and appreciation for all my dad had done for me. Recognizing that his days were limited, I took the time to tell him face to face how much he meant to me. So I knew what this man was experiencing. "Forgive me for asking, but why is this a forever goodbye?" I asked. "I am old and she lives much too far away," he said. "I have challenges ahead, and the reality is her next trip back will be for my funeral," he said. "When you were saying goodbye, I heard you say, 'I wish you enough.' May I ask what that means?" And he began to smile. "That's a wish that has been handed down from other generations. My parents used to say it to everyone." He paused for a moment, and looking up as if trying to remember it in detail, he smiled even more. "When we said, 'I wish you enough,' we were wanting the other person to have a life filled with enough of good things to sustain them." He continued, and then he turned towards me, sharing the following as if he were reciting it from memory. "I wish you enough sun to keep your attitude bright. I wish you enough rain to appreciate the sun more. I wish you enough happiness to keep your spirit alive. I wish you enough pain so that the smallest joys in life appear much bigger. I wish you enough gain to satisfy your wanting. I wish you enough loss to appreciate all that you possess. I wish you enough hellos so you get through the final goodbye." Then he began to sob and walked away. And the quote this week is, "Learn to enjoy every minute of your life. Be happy now. Don't wait for something outside of yourself to make you happy in the future. Think of how really precious is the time you have to spend, whether it's at work or with your family. Every minute should be enjoyed and savored," by Earl Nightingale. Good stuff.
Ah, that is very good, Dave.
I used to like you, Super Dave. That was a good one, buddy.
I wish you enough, Jim.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know if I could have read that one and got through it. But. All right, final thoughts. Kendrick, you got any final thoughts for the day?
I do have a couple final thoughts. One is that
Only allowed one.
no, I have a couple.
It is a final.
It's not final thought. It's final thoughts.
Final
I thought
thoughts.
this was the final goodbye.
Or as Jim and Dave like to call it, the closing arguments.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Final argument.
Shh, I have the gavel.
Sorry.
No. The just one
Using my
request.
Situational awareness.
We need the Navajo stick.
I just have one request, and that is over at Yard 23, when you open up the shop, please do not set the deadbolt so that the door winds up hitting that deadbolt against the frame. The door, everybody knows the code over there, so they can unlock the door, but will start damaging that lock and start damaging our door. So
Wow, that's profound.
I had to bring it up. I forgot about it earlier. Excuse me.
I wonder how those things get started, Kendrick, because do they do that at home?
I don't know.
I bet not. I bet their front door isn't like propped open by the deadbolt, right? Those are the things that I always look around and go, does this happen at their home?
I don't know.
Dave, is that common in Lafayette? Do people prop their door open with their deadbolt?
You know, I think my daughters did when they were little. A big mark in the
That backfired on me.
right next to the front door there.
My only closing thought is that we have a lot of awesome drivers, and when you see any of us safety guys out at the job sites and at the plants, we're there to assist you. We're there to help you out. We might be calling out that your lines are dragging on your deck, and we might get up and straighten them out for you. We might just be making sure that you're hauling legal. Again, it's not for our benefit. It's to make sure that you're staying safe and that you're going to be able to go home at the end of the day. So I appreciate everybody, all those individuals out there, the drivers that do it right every day, and that we don't bring up your names. But you are appreciated, and I always try and make sure that when I do see you, I throw out a thanks for all that you guys do.
That's awesome, Kendrick. I kind of want to follow up just because it's like fresh after you saying it, but we are here to make you better, right? We're here to help you be better. You're actually working for a company that cares about you. You know, and I guess I feel like sometimes everyone just thinks, oh, they're on me for this. They're on me for speeding. They're on me for that. The camera keeps sending in, you know. We're here trying to make you be better or help you be better. We're not trying to make you, right? It's ultimately your choice, right? And if you're successful here, you're pretty goddamn successful, right? But it's pretty easy to be successful here if you follow all of the guidance we're providing, right? We're literally giving you the tools, figuratively and in person, right? In real life, we're giving you the tool of that truck. We're giving you the tool of that trailer, of the liner, of the ladder, of the actual bag of tools in your truck. We're giving you everything we've got because we know what it takes to be successful. We still need your help. We still need 110% of your situational awareness in everything you do. And I guess I want everyone here to realize and be proud that they're working for a company that we're motivated to help you do it right. We're motivated to help you be better. We're excited to give you your weekly bump because you left the yard before 6 every day. We're excited to give you your quarterly safety bonus because you didn't have any incidents or accidents. We're genuinely excited to do those things because those are programs we put in place to help you be better. We're excited to give you the PTO that you've earned. You know, I mean, just all of those things, all of these programs in place to help you be better. We're excited to do that, and we're willing to help. Yeah, Kendrick, when you show up somewhere, I mean, you know, there sits a JFW truck at, I'm making it up, Plant 12, and everybody pulls in like, oh, they're here watching me again. I'm not doing this right, or I'm not doing that right. I bet you are doing it right. We're there to help you do it right, right? I mean, you know, I mentioned Jim and I wind up sitting in the pickup for 15, 20 minutes, sometimes even 30 minutes if we're having an in-depth conversation. And again, a truck goes by. When we're picking on that tailgate being open, yes, you're not doing your job. Yes, we're harping on you. If we think you're going too fast, we're going to say something. Why is that? We're helping you with your situational awareness. We just helped you be better. You know, you can look at it that we called you out. You can look at it that we harped on you. You can look at it at whatever way you want. The facts are the facts. We're there to help you be better. We're there to help you create that situational awareness. That camera is there to help you create that situational awareness. The insurance company we just met with yesterday, they asked, you know, do you guys have cameras? Yeah, we have cameras. We've had them for 3 years now. Well, what pushback did you get from the drivers? Well, 3 years ago, we had some pushback, right? We wound up losing one employee. Quit. So I don't want a camera. You don't need to watch me. Well, we weren't watching that person. We don't watch people. It's there to go back and look when there's an incident, right? We switch, fast forward 3 years, we get this new camera system, or 2 years, we get this new camera system. It has artificial intelligence that took us from being reactive to proactive. They ask, do your drivers like the cameras? Yes, they like the cameras. Why do they like them? Because if you ask every single driver here, it's made them be a better driver. Any driver you ask that's driving here, that camera, you ask them this question, has that camera made you a better driver? every single one of them is going to say yes. Every single one. We haven't asked one driver that's given us a no. Not one time. Do they like them? They'll sit there and go, nope, don't like the camera. Did it make you a better driver? Absolutely. I mean, it's almost oxymoron, right? Yeah, you don't want the camera. Did it make you a better driver? Uh-huh. Why wouldn't you want something that makes you better, right? Why wouldn't you want the help of our safety team making you better? Why wouldn't you want the help of Jim and I helping you be better? It's a better life. It's a better way. It's a better knowledge. It's just better all the way around. And I guess that's the company we want to be. We say together we're better. Well, it takes all of us to be better. So there's my final thoughts.
Right. Jim? Closing argument?
Closing argument. I love how sometimes everything, well, a lot of times on the podcast, everything comes together, like with your High Road Holland Super Dave. And of course, Dave, you're saying the same thing that we've said and stuff like that. I want to begin by, we haven't named any names, but we have absolutely not talked about these situations to hurt that person, to bring them down, to embarrass them, to make a I don't know, a martyr out of them, anything like that. It's to spread what happened so somebody else understands about it. And we've used our words to do that. And my closing thoughts here is about words. So our voice is our most powerful instrument. It can start wars, or it can say, I love you. And like in your High Road Holland there, Dave, enough, right? Is that word of love enough? Does it give you closure? And that's how powerful that our voice is. And or we can speak with our voice and no one listens. And
what's that?
Right? Do we what are we talking and you get nobody to listen and you think, but look how powerful our voice is. So there's 7 deadly sins of speaking. The first one is gossip. The second one is judging. The third one is negativity. The fourth one is complaining. And the fifth one is excuses. And when I looked into this, they called the excuses blame throwers. And I instead of a flamethrower, a blame thrower. I love that. And I want to just talk about that one. And again, I don't even recognize who the person was this week, but Marty said the truck going out the south side, your tailgate's open. I got on the radio and I said, good morning, you guys. I said, but if your gate's open, we're not doing a good walk around, a pre-trip. The driver answered me back. I did do a pre-trip, Brother Jim, and something about the fuel island because the radio broke up. And I forgot to close it, or I didn't get it at the fuel island. But I did a walk around, okay, or a pre-trip. That was the answer back. But if your tailgate was open, the facts are, did you really do a walk around? I want to ask that. I mean, you did walk around it.
But what are you looking at?
Yeah.
Right? Did you really do it? And again, back to earlier, like I mentioned to you, Jim, it would have been so nice to hear on the radio, hey, I did it, but obviously I need to do a better job.
Right.
Oh, my God, my day would have been done. I could have went back to bed just by hearing that. I did a walk around, but I could have been on a better job, obviously. That's awesome. So, and then the sixth one is exaggeration. And exaggerations then become lies, is what they said, which, when you think about it, as you exaggerate, sometimes they do just become lies. And then I had to look this up. 7 is dogmatism. Does anybody know what?
I've heard dogmatic before.
Same, just to the portion of that word, right? Dogmatic or dogmatism. So it's facts or opinion, and I don't believe the last part of this, but it's a good representation of dogmatism. It refers to the arrogant opinions or unproven theories, or even despite that someone is dogmatic, Jam, might insist that the dinosaurs never existed even though we've dug up bones. That's being dogmatic. Or that women should never drive. Okay, that's being dogmatic, which we have great women driver, right? My daughters all drive, all that kind of stuff. But that's being dogmatic, and that's the facts and opinion, and we have that. We have a lot of that here. You know, somebody telling somebody to slow down, and they're telling them to mind their own business. That's not the facts and opinions. That's being dogmatic. So his answer to this, as you're speaking, is kind of like the S.A.F.E.R there, Ken, is hail. Your voice should be used to hail. So the H stands for honesty. You need to be clear and straight. The A is authenticity. Okay, be yourself. The I is integrity. That should be your word. And love is not the love like I love you, but you're wishing that person well with your voice. And so my closing thing here is I would like to hail you all. And the L of that is I want to wish you all well for the week, because I know every one of us can be better.
Awesome. Soup, any final thoughts?
No, I just be quick. Wish you all enough.
I love it.
Yeah, so true, Dave.
All right, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Channel 23 podcast. Hit that follow button. Also, don't forget to go back and listen to episode 72 and help find Ambyr's mom. She was actually just on the Tom Martino show. I'm going to post a link to that in today's podcast, and also I'll put it out on Paycom for everybody. And the links to her story will be in today's description. Let's say the creed and get on out of here.
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
Together we face and overcome all that stands before us. Together we are accident-free. Together we joyfully create honest value for those we serve. Together we celebrate our differences and respect those with whom we work. Together we are accountable for our words and our actions. Together we are the JFW family.
All right,
Everybody have a good week.
Have a great week, everyone.
See you guys.
I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-looking for another load. Well, it's a family tradition, any Rocky Mountain day. Our fathers before us showed us the way. We worked for asphalt cowboys and concrete kings, but that's never been a problem, cause we got diesel in our veins. We've got diesel in our veins. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. I hear there's a couple million tons to move. I see them everywhere. So you best get out their way and watch that sand and gravel disappear. There's another run to make. We gotta get it there on time. And we got what it takes to lay it all out on the line. We'll lay it all out on the line. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks got the best drivers in town. They got all the tools they need to keep that hammer down. When they hit them scales, they won't need to dodge them, won't need to duck them. They just keep that hammer down, and they keep that diesel trucking. Keep that hammer down, and keep that diesel trucking. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. They just keep them doors closed, keep them butts in their seats, 'cause those customers are calling, and those red trucks can't be beat. They've gotta put the hammer down and pick up another load. Get it off the ground, keep them eyes open and on the road. Keep them eyes open on the road. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. Breaker 23, anybody got a copy on that Channel 23 podcast? Welcome, and thanks for listening.